Hello and welcome to the Angus Report, a news program geared specifically toward cattle producers. I'm Bob Cervera.
And I'm Paige Wallace. From American Angus Association headquarters in St. Joseph, Missouri, we bring you the week's top headlines, including a look at crossing Angus cattle with Angus cattle. We discuss straight breeding and some of the advantages it offers.
We'll walk through some of the points you should consider when making that next trailer purchase.
A Texas feeder shares how data and quality provide economic incentives at his family-owned feed yard.
Economic indicators point to selling cattle on a carcass basis. Sean Walter of Professional Cattle Consultants explains.
And hundreds of cattlemen gathered this month for annual Angus activities in Louisville, Kentucky. We wrap up our report from the annual meeting.
Also, record keeping for beginners. Some things to keep in mind when submitting data to the American Angus Association.
This is the Angus Report.
Our top story for the week. In coffee shops across the country, the debate between crossbred and straight-bred cattle systems may never dull. But Mike Caston of Millersville, Missouri says recent advances in selection technology changed the game.
Where do I go to make them better than what I can do with the Angus? I don't see any place I can really go and try to continue the quality level we have and move them any higher with a different breed of cattle. I tried a few Wagyus marbling, and we took 27 points off their weaning ratios with that set of calves. So yes, we got marbling on a handful of calves, but they're not going to move us anywhere in a growth or economic standpoint. So, and then again, I don't know that you really do have to trade off by using another breed. We were able to get what I consider very acceptable performance with the straight Angus cattle. I think with the EPDs we have today, heterosis is not remotely as big a deal as it used to be, maybe on the cow, but on the cow side of it with reproduction now, with fixed timed AI, I think we can kind of negate the heterosis positive aspects in a crossbred cow with those management practices.
The feeding business has changed quite a bit since the 1980s, when Scott Keeling of Hereford, Texas first began feeding cattle. But economics continues to be a driving force. That's why the Keeling family has accelerated its focus on quality through its partnership with Certified Angus Beef. Now the 17,000 head feed yard targets 600-pound yearlings that are 50% or more black-hided. The harvest data they receive is used to make further improvements and meet the quality mark.
As a partner, I can get information back from the packer through Certified Angus Beef, whereas an individual feed yard, I never could get that information. And that's been very beneficial, because if you don't know what you're doing, what you're producing on that end, how can we improve? Because the people that come in and buy my cattle every week, if I'm really hitting a high bar, they don't really want me to know that, because they want to buy them. It's all economics. They want to buy them as cheap as they can. What we're trying to move, and this again goes back to my involvement with Certified Angus Beef, from a commodity to a high-end product. And that's what we're doing more and more of. Now, if certain government policies that are out there that aren't implemented yet, if they are implemented, that could change that. We could all become just a commodity product. But if they don't, well, then we can continue to put out more of a high-end product.
As the tax year draws to a close, cattlemen making end-of-year purchase decisions have much to consider. In this report, we look at buying your next stock trailer, when to upgrade, and getting the most bang for your buck.
One of the most important things to keep in mind when purchasing a trailer is overall safety, not just for the livestock, but for the person towing the vehicle as well. That, in finding a manufacturer that builds a quality product, it's known for its quality product, and that's going to stand behind its warranty. From there, as you move into the trailer itself, you're going to want to watch the load height, depending on what type of livestock it is that you're loading. You want it to be very inviting. With that is going to be lighting. Making sure the lighting going in and coming out is going to make them want to come in or out. And once you enter the trailer, the floor. There's multiple different floor options available in the industry. Make sure it's one that's not going to be slippery for your animals and cause something to happen. As we work into the trailer, there are a number of things to watch for, but most of all is anything that's going to be hazardous or that's going to stick out, such as slam latches. Here on this featherlight, you can see the design keeps it tucked tight to the wall, which is great. And then the fender wells. This is a 7-wide trailer. Now, as the trailers get wider, there's going to be more fender well inside. So you want to make sure it's got a nice sleek design, very smooth with no sharp edges. Another key point is airflow, whether it's in the hot summer months or cold winter months. Getting the proper air to your animals is very important. If you're trying to determine if now is a good time to buy or not, you might want to start by looking underneath your current trailer, especially if it's steel, because you're going to want to make sure that there's not any rust or corrosion that might cause some dangers. The second thing you want to keep in mind is, are you maximizing each and every load that you're pulling today? Do you need to go a little bit smaller or a little bit bigger? Watch the weight that you have in your trailers, because in today's world with fuel prices, you're going to make sure you're taking advantage of every trip. And third is actual used trailer prices. We've seen them hold strong here recently, so it might be a good time to go check with the local dealer to see what it's worth.
More than 330 American Angus Association delegates elected 5 members to its board of directors Monday, November 14th at the 128th Annual Convention of Delegates in Louisville, Kentucky. Newly elected board directors include Chris Sankey of Council Grove, Kansas, Arlen Sawyer of Bassett, Nebraska, Doug Schroeder of Clarence, Iowa, Daryl Silvera of Fireball, California, and Jim Sitz of Harrison, Montana. Gerald Callahan of Edmond, Oklahoma was elected association president and chairman of the board. Phil Trowbridge of New York was elected to serve as vice president and vice chairman of the board. And Gordon Stuckey of Kingman, Kansas will serve as the organization's treasurer. Visit angus.org for more information or other highlights from the annual meeting and North American International Livestock Exposition.
Agriculture advocacy was among the many topics discussed during Angus meetings in Louisville, Kentucky. Bruce Vincent, third-generation logger from Libby, Montana, served as keynote speaker during the event and explained the importance of advocating for agriculture. Vincent and other industry speakers are encouraging farmers and ranchers to become better equipped to influence consumers.
America is in love with what they think rural America represents, so they want to protect us, but they're protecting us to death. And we've got to understand that their intentions, while good, need to be instructed. That means we need to talk to them about who we are and what we do. The similarities between where we were in the forestry industry a decade and a half ago or 2 decades ago and where ag is right now are incredibly similar. And one of the mistakes we made is we thought some things like the truth will win. We learned ultimately the truth, if it rides around in the jockey box of our pickup, doesn't do us any good. We thought that common sense would break out. And that's kind of where ag is right now, at a crossroads. We're understanding that something has to happen, but we've got to understand that that something that has to happen starts in our living room. It starts in our own personal plan for what we're going to do with the rest of our life. Just add a piece of it for activism. So if we don't do something, America will still eat beef. It just won't come from here.
Visit ProviderPals.com to learn more about ways to share agriculture's story with others. And when the Angus Report returns, the American Angus Association's Bill Bowman shares tips for beginning breeders.
Plus, friendships come easy in the cattle business. 2 Angus cattlemen share their passion for the breed.
First, we check in on the latest cattle market news with our Market Update, brought to you by CattleFax.
Hello, I'm Lance Zimmerman with the CattleFax Update. Box beef prices are largely influenced by holiday prime rib demand in the fall. During the last 3 years, USDA choice primal rib prices have increased 14% from the fall low to high. The fall low in rib prices has been less defined this year due to exceptional demand. The weekly choice rib primal price was $258 per hundredweight around Labor Day. By the end of October, prices increased 16%, reaching a high at $298. The more pronounced seasonal price increase reflects the exceptional demand seen for higher quality beef this fall, as Walmart transitioned its meat case to include choice product. Weekly choice wholesale prices have improved $5 per hundredweight since September, and the weekly choice select spread has been as wide as $17.50. Cattle prices have benefited from aggressive choice product demand this fall. Packers have bid aggressively to keep coolers supplied with high-quality beef despite poorer operating margins. Fed cattle prices have kept feedlots mostly profitable, and fed cattle marketings remain current. These factors, as well as a favorable cost of gain, have motivated feedlots to bid aggressively for feeder cattle and calves this fall. The rib typically reaches its annual highs after Thanksgiving, which is good news for cattle producers. Rib prices will likely need to move higher in November to provide additional support to fall cattle markets. For the Angus Report and CattleFax, I'm Lance Zimmerman.
To learn more about CattleFax, your leading source for beef industry market information, visit CattleFax.com.